Hudson County View, live at Uncut. I'm your host, where what you see is what you get, and what you don't is better yet, John Arhitis. And of course, every week, as we do, I'm going to tell you about the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. So, first of all, in Jersey City, we had a standoff over down by JFK Boulevard and Clinton Avenue, right by that 7-Eleven. There was an armed robbery out of North Bergen, and that led to many hours of patience from law enforcement officers from Jersey City and a few from North Bergen as well. And thankfully, that ended peacefully. So I'm sure you heard a lot about that. It was well covered, but we're going to take a few minutes to talk about that today. We are also going to talk about the latest appointees for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. For the first time ever, Hudson County will be represented with 2 seats on the board. It's an 11-member board, and it typically has 6 people from New York and 5 from New Jersey, and now 2 from Hudson County, as I just said. And I'm sure you know the names well. It's Rob Menendez Jr. He's an attorney and, of course, the son of U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, and Michelle Richardson, who is the executive director of the Hudson County Economic Development Corporation. So we're going to talk about the implications there. Also, we can't do an episode these days without talking a little bit about COVID-19 vaccinations. And in Hoboken, they've already opened up a portal for you to sign up if you have not got your vaccination yet. The reason that this is news, this is relevant, is because on Monday, Governor Phil Murphy has let us know already that the whole general public will be eligible to get their shot. So if you haven't got inoculated yet, and that's something that you would like to do, you could do that in the Mile Square City. So we're going to tell you how you can do that. And today, my guest is Jersey City Ward C Council candidate Tom Zuppa. He's sitting right next to me, and we're going to have an in-depth discussion with him right after this break.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tonnelle Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tonnelle Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net. Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers the quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just 1 path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport, live like you want.
Hudson County View, live at Uncut, John Arhitis. And as I just mentioned a few moments ago today, I am joined with Jersey City Ward C Council candidate Tom Zuppa. Councilor, thanks for coming in.
Of course, John. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, as I mentioned on Twitter before this, it's a pleasure to see the involvement, the engagement in Ward C. I mean, you have all 3 candidates coming on by mid-April for a November election, so quite refreshing. And thank you again for joining me. So, just for those that haven't been following along, I mean, you could argue you've been really setting this up for the past couple years. So just tell us what you want to do and why you want to be involved in Journal Square, specifically to be that representative that sits up on the dais. Yeah,
sure, John. Again, first let me say thank you for having me. It's really I'm really happy to be here. And I'm running because Ward C is getting left behind other parts of the city. Our streets are dirtier. We're not getting the same city services for what we're paying in our taxes. I just want to represent a community that wants our fair share. Take my block by block community initiative, for example. We're neighbors coming together and making positive change in the community. And we actually started by a conversation I had with a very dear friend of mine. She's lived in Ward C all of her life. She's paid taxes. She's trying to enjoy her retirement years. And she actually contemplated moving out of the same neighborhood where she grew up because of the conditions in the streets and a lack of accountability. And that's unacceptable. So I told her, we're going to make that change. We're going to do it one day at a time, one block at a time, and we're going to do it together. And we've been doing that with our neighborhood cleanups, and there's another one this Saturday. And in the winter, when our volunteers went out and cleared sidewalks and intersections to make it safer for our residents. We are literally going one block at a time around Ward C just to make things a little cleaner and a little safer. And let me say this on the last point on that. And I'll say it to my Ward C residents and neighbors. You should never question whether your neighborhood is clean enough, safe enough, or affordable enough to live there. And I'm running to fight for my neighbors so they never have to question that again.
All right, thank you, Tom. Now, as you may have had a chance to see by now, last week we had the incumbent, Councilman Rich Baggiato, and he said that, he's behaved basically as a friend and a neighbor to the Ward C community as opposed to a politician. He feels like he's got a lot done. He feels like he has been accountable. So why do you feel like that just isn't the case here?
Yeah, and let me say this. I'm running because I get things done. I identify issues, and I try to find solutions, and I act on it. And I have a lot of respect for Councilman Baggiato and his service to the community. And when he first got elected, it was because he was an advocate. But we've seen recently that he's losing that independent streak. Issues on property taxes, the MUA tax, ignoring the reservoir communities and conversations about that, and overall dollars coming into Ward C. And so I'm just here to act on issues that have been ignored for too long.
All right, so you talked about clean streets. You just obviously mentioned taxes, and you talked about going door to door and basically getting that community feel back in Ward C. So any other issues that you think you'd like to address head on, should you be elected in November or December?
Sure. So overall, quality of life of our residents is a major priority. And that covers, like I said, cleaner streets, improved city services, supporting local businesses, and affordability. And another priority of mine is ending chronic homelessness. So for far too long in our community, our neighbors in Journal Square and other parts of Ward C have been left out in the cold. And if we don't commit as a city and on the state and state and county levels, we're just going to see more of the same. There's a resolution tonight before the council on increasing funding for those homeless services. So
$2 million, pretty big one.
That's a great step, but we need to commit to doing more. We need to find permanent housing for our neighbors, and we need to do it today. Otherwise, like I said, we're just going to see the same thing over again, and we really need to come up with real solutions.
So on that point, real solutions for homelessness, if you were on the council, what do you think would be something that would be helpful for those people that are struggling in Journal Square?
Oh, absolutely. So again, what the city is doing in terms of outreach is great, but we need to take that a step further. We need to work with local organizations, whether community associations or nonprofits, and find permanent housing.
And, do you have any ideas on location or, any specifics that perhaps you guys have managed to come across yet?
And it really touches on another issue of affordability and keeping rents low for our residents, because if you live in Ward C and you love Ward C the way I do, you should be able to afford to live here. And it goes to property taxes for homeowners. Quick story, my grandmother lived her entire life, all 96 years, on the same street on Tonnelle Avenue in Greenville. So for someone to say to her, or I've said to her, it's too expensive for you to live here, or it's too expensive to live in your home, is just unacceptable. So we need to keep rents affordable for our renters. We need to keep property taxes low for our homeowners, because if you look at it, people know if their property taxes or their taxes are being used effectively or not. So I'm looking in Ward C, I'm seeing dirty streets, a lack of city services. We need to invest in Ward C and those services.
Very good, Tom. So actually, we're just going to take a moment to hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Cutting-edge surgical care is right here in Secaucus.
Robotic surgery is safer.
Shorter hospital stays.
Smaller abdominal incisions, the size of an M&M. Here at Hudson Regional, we provide world-class robotic surgical care.
Good Friend Self Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tonnelle Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. Shout out Hidas, and I am still with Jersey City Ward C Council candidate Tom Zuppa. So anyway, Tom, let's talk about what the dynamic and I guess really the political ideology, if you will, of Ward C. So when I had a chance to sit down with Kevin Bigg, as you know, this is a three-way dance right now, unofficially, but he said that this ward is becoming more progressive and we need to act more like Democrats and vote more like Democrats. So what do you think of that sentiment and how it relates to where you live?
Sure. So I may not spend a lot of time talking about issues that don't directly affect Ward C's residents. It's only because I'm more of a back to basics guy. I'm focused on cleaning those streets, like I said, improving city services, working on affordability, and those are my priorities right now. And I think that will resonate with all of Ward C because, again, as I said, we're saying before the break about, you know where your taxes go. And you know whether the streets are dirty, you know whether your garbage is getting picked up, and we need to get back to basics and hold the city accountable and fix those things.
So as far as you know where your taxes go, right? I mean, if we went up to 10 people on the street today, it's unlikely that they would know how much the last budget was. They would probably know that there was no tax increase. But how do you think you could go about educating people on, where the money's spent, what services they're getting, what they're not getting? I mean, what sort of ideas would you have there?
We're almost already doing that with the Block by Block community initiative. So when I go out and engage new residents, and I'm honored that so many people are enthusiastic about what we're doing, we talk about these issues. They see bags and bags of garbage that we're cleaning up in the streets. We're making small improvements. And it's not just the outreach and the awareness, it's the advocacy on top of that, so that we're talking to the city officials, or hopefully I will be a city official, and making this real change. And they'll see it in the results. So, if residents complain about certain things or concerns that they're raising on See, Click, Fix or to their elected officials, and the same issues aren't being solved, and then they get solved, that's when they know that the city services are reflecting what they're paying into the city.
All right. Now, obviously, you spoke to me today already about, talking about what hits close to home. So let's talk about another thing on the agenda this evening, and that's the Lowe's Theater improvements. Obviously, this is something that's been discussed for many years, and this is going to be a long project. I think it's about 2025 when they're supposed to wrap up. But this is a big investment, and this is, talking about bringing back that art culture, basically making Journal Square the gem of Jersey City. We've all heard that, right? So what do you think about this resolution and what it could do for Journal Square?
Sure. I love the Lowe's renovation and the restoration. It's something I've been saying about for years, and it's needed. And we owe a huge debt to Colin and Patty and the Friends of the Lowe's and all their volunteers who preserved the building and kept it going and activities going all these years. So Journal Square is the heart of Jersey City, and we need to return it to being the soul of its arts and culture community. We have billions of dollars in investment and development coming to Journal Square. And with the right leader and a clear vision that starts today, we can make Journal Square a place of endless possibilities. It's not just the Lowe's Theater. We have the Pathside building, which can be a place where local artists, musicians, they thrive, where we support local businesses and they can thrive as well. And it all starts here. It's endless amount of jobs for our residents, and there's a lot of potential, and I'm happy to see it, but we need that clear vision and a fresh perspective on it.
So when you talk about a clear vision of bringing arts and culture back to Journal Square, yeah, you feel free to elaborate. I mean, what do you think we could do beyond just revitalizing the Lowe's? And, how do we bring artists back to the area? Perhaps a mural program. What do you have in mind there?
Sure. So I mentioned the Pathside building, and I know Councilman Baggiano brought it up as well. And it had been slated to be a museum. And that should still be explored because Jersey City does have an excellent history. As I touched on my grandmother was here for 96 years. The Zuppa family has been here for over 100 years. So, and there's history beyond my own family that I understand and love. And we need to honor that. But that building can be a lot more. It could be somewhere where I said there's space for artists and musicians, and that's what we need in Journal Square. Or a place where, in the atrium level, there's local businesses that are supported, restaurants and the like. And there's just endless possibility for that building in particular.
All right, very good. So, obviously we're still in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, God willing, hopefully we're almost out of it. But when you look about the relief for small businesses, for renters, for homeowners during the pandemic from the city, what do you think? What's your reaction? Do you think that went well? Is there anything you would have done differently? Just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Sure. So I think the mayor did a great job in getting us to where we are today. I mean, we had some tough going of it a year ago. And hopefully we're almost not out of the woods, but we're going to get slowly and steady back to where we were. But where I disagree on that point would be the city needs to invest more dollars in services and support of local businesses in Ward C itself. So I mentioned taxes before. Ward C taxes need to stay in Ward C and not go to other parts of the city because we have issues that need to be addressed. So supporting local businesses. When we have an empty storefront in Ward C, our residents know it stays empty for longer than other parts of the city. We need to change that.
What ideas would you have to maybe, revitalize that commerce?
Outreach is the big thing. If there's local businesses that don't know who their council person is or representative is, we need to get out there and do outreach, highlight local businesses, support as much as we can. I've been mentioning the Block by Block Community Initiative, and that's because it's so much of what I do. We try to highlight a local business and work with a local business each time. So generally, they'll support us by bringing a place where we can meet, and we highlight that business and bring people there, raise awareness, and overall it's just a mutually beneficial relationship.
And briefly, Tom, before you go, anything you wanted to add before you head out?
Yeah, like I said, to the Ward C residents, it's time for a new day in Ward C. We're going to bring that fresh perspective and vision for the future, and we will go block by block, and if we haven't gotten to your block yet, we will.
Very good, Tom. Thank you so much for coming
Thanks,
in.
John.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We're going to take one more break, but we'll be right back.
Pinto Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces that address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintoproperties.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Stevens Jersey City Ford, located right off of NJ 440 North. Across the Hudson Mall is your one-stop for all your automotive needs. Check out Ford's latest models like the 2020 Ford Fusion with its stylish looks and hybrid options, or the unparalleled high-performance 2020 Ford Mustang. The 2020 Ford F-150 Raptor is ready for those rugged off-road terrains with trail control. Need a mid-sized truck for your towing and hauling? The 2020 Ford Ranger will deliver. The 2020 Ford Escape is a luxury SUV that was made for comfort and adventure on the go. Returning is Ford's legendary Bronco, which takes you back to the true meaning of off-roading. They are now available for pre-order in our showroom or on our website. Let us help you find your next vehicle. Stevens Jersey City Ford, 201-432-7272.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. John Arhitis. So as I mentioned at the top of the program, we had kind of a unexpected, I think to say the least, incident in Jersey City where we had this standoff right at that 7-Eleven in the area of Communipaw and Kennedy Boulevard. And fortunately, at the end of the day, everything ended safely. The suspect surrendered, and all in all, everybody seemed pretty pleased with the outcome. We heard from the police director, Tawana Moody, and we'll get all of that in a moment. But let me just give you the rundown. So at about 10:45 a.m., Jersey City police were alerted by their colleagues from the North Bergen Police Department They said that there was an armed robbery they were investigating, and the suspect had traveled into their city. So by late morning, there were multiple road closures in the area of Communipaw and JFK Boulevard, and police surrounded the suspect's vehicle near the 7-Eleven that was by Clinton Avenue. So when the police director was speaking to us, she said, "We came in to assist to be able to make sure of what just happened, that no one gets hurt." Of course, that goes without saying. This was just before 3:30, and this was just after they had brought this suspect into custody. Now, they obviously had to act with extreme caution. They had to treat the suspect as if he was armed, and he ended up surrendering without a fight, as I mentioned. And they also mentioned that when he was arrested, he didn't actually have a weapon on him, but they had not executed a search warrant of the vehicle at that time. And it was a very large police response. I think anyone that was driving in the area that day probably saw a little bit of this. They estimated about 50 officers were on the scene. And finally, before we go into a clip, I just wanted to let you know that I was able to speak with Police Captain David Dowd of North Bergen, and he told me about the suspect's name and charges, and that's Larry Zarzuela, 43, of Lyndhurst. He was charged with robbery, possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose, that was a tire iron in this instance, and receiving stolen property, which was a vehicle. He explained a little more that Zarzula was wanted for an April 9th robbery. That was at Grand Food Mart, that's 700 Grand Ave in North Bergen, and he apparently threatened the counter worker with a tire iron and was spotted heading to Jersey City in a stolen vehicle that morning. So now we're going to go to a quick clip where we're going to hear from Police Director Tawana Moody.
We got a call about 10:45 from the North Bergen Police Department that they was conducting an investigation, and when they was conducting the investigation, they came in for assistance in that the young man was armed and he was barricaded inside of the car, an automobile car being barricaded in. And so what we did is came in to assist to be able to make sure, such as what just happened, that no one gets hurt and things can go out smoothly. We got always, with time, it seemed like it was time consuming, but we have nothing but time when no one can come out and no one's hurt.
Director, was he armed?
What them saying it was armed, we did not get a chance, because as you can see, we just put him into custody and the car was not searched as of yet. So we would have to wait that one out. I think the police department, the guys did a great job negotiating. It took a couple of hours, but they did it, and that's key here, that no one gets hurt. Right, and so the negotiators did a great job. So I want to thank the police officers for their hard work, their time, and their patience, and the young man being okay. The officers from North Bergen said he was armed. We had to take precaution and pull in our negotiators so that we can make sure none of that. We couldn't take none of that for granted because, again, he was inside of a car.
So you're searching the car now, but when you search him when you pull him out. They patted him down. Did he have a weapon on him?
No, I think when they more so of him putting his hands up and grabbing out of there, as you guys was able to see, they put him straight to the car.
But he didn't have a weapon on him?
No. And if it's in the car, again, with anything you do, if it's in the car, they will not find that out until they search the car, which is a search warrant.
So switching gears completely, I just wanted to briefly tell you how you could register to receive the COVID-19 vaccination out of Hoboken. So again, in case you missed the beginning of the show, I was telling you that Governor Phil Murphy has announced that on Monday, the whole general public will be eligible for the COVID-19 vaccination. So Hoboken has proactively set up a portal where you could register, and they've pretty consistently been doing that every time a new tier of the public, of the workforce have been able to do that, following the New Jersey Department of Health guidelines and U.S. Centers for Disease Control and, others that have been monitoring this pandemic for the past 13 months. So anyway, just wanted to point out that if you go on our website, the pre-registration form is within that story. Hoboken opens up pre-registration for general public to receive COVID-19 vaccination. Some quick remarks from Mayor Bala. He said getting vaccinated remains a critical part of overcoming the pandemic and keeping our community safe. The data demonstrates that the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines are safe and effective, and I encourage all residents to get one as soon as an appointment becomes available. I also ask all residents to consider talking to their friends and family and assist them in signing up for the vaccine as well. And, on that point, obviously, there was a big news story this week that goes well beyond Hudson County and New Jersey. We heard from the Food and Drug Administration as well as the CDC, and they're suspending the Johnson & Johnson vaccine until further notice, the reason being they caused severe blood clots in 6 women. Now, granted, this was out of about 6.8 million shots administered, so, relatively unlikely, but, they said if you have certain symptoms, that includes, severe cramping, severe headaches, you should consider speaking with a medical professional. But for the time being, that is on pause throughout Hudson County, throughout New Jersey, more or less the whole country. So with that, we're going to take one more break. We'll be right back.
Hudson Regional Hospital, we promise to be prepared for your emergency.
We promise to provide world-class robotic surgical care.
We promise to treat you like family.
To provide accurate diagnostic care.
To provide the most innovative orthopedic care at your doorsteps.
We promise to treat your baby like our own.
To never stop investing in the best of spinal care.
To be with you every step of the way.
Here at Hudson Regional Hospital, we promise to take care of our community.
A brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's tough enough to have best-in-class available payload and smart enough to know that a cab can also be an office. A truck equipped with best-in-class available towing that asks, why can't all that power more than just this truck? No, your brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's the all-new F-150. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
Hudson County View, live and uncut, John Arhitis. So obviously, we're at our last segment here. I just wanted to parse through a few things. And the first one being, I didn't want to be remiss and forget about these Port Authority appointments. So if you're watching, I'm sure you're very familiar with Rob Menendez Jr. and Michelle Richardson, but just some brief history, really biographical background, I guess would be a better term. Menendez Jr., 35, is an attorney at Lowenstein Sandler who lives in Jersey City. And as you guys know through this program and, various other local reporting, he had been mulling a run for mayor at basically for the last quarter of 2020. But we haven't heard much about that in recent memory. So probably safe to say that's unlikely. But I mean, in Hudson County, you never know. All I could say right now is Mayor Stephen Fulop is running unopposed. Now, Michelle Richardson, again, the executive director of the Hudson County Economic Development Corporation, and she's married to Joseph Charles, a retired Superior Court judge, assemblyman and state senator. Obviously, that's a pretty decorated career by any standard. And, if you're keeping score at home, Menendez was appointed by Governor Phil Murphy, and Richardson was selected by State Senator Sandra Cunningham. So with that, just quickly, Mayor Fulop weighed in on these picks, and he said it's great to have Hudson County finally represented on the Port Authority, and I congratulate Michelle Richardson and Bob Menendez Jr. on their nomination. In Jersey City, we have some big challenges with mass transit, some big projects we have been working with the Port Authority on, in particular around the proposed PATH station in West Side. He said he's looking forward to working with them. So let's very quickly just touch on the CCRB resolution in front of the council tonight. Now, this is an ordinance that we've been talking about for months, probably since the last quarter of 2020, maybe even a little before that. And this is, again, supposed to be an ordinance. They're settling on a resolution. The reason being, as I've touched on last month, is that the police unions have threatened litigation. They said this CCRB ordinance would impact their collective bargaining agreements, which in turn would be illegal. So they're doing a resolution instead of an ordinance. We're short on time, so I'm not going to go any deeper than that. Before we part ways, I just want to say that there was a story I had this week, an exclusive from HCV. Former Jersey City Police Chief Michael Kelly earned $282,779.58 payout for unused time. And I wish I could tell you more, but I'm just going to have to direct you to the website, HudsonCountyView.com, because we are out of time for this week. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.